Once, in a quiet village surrounded by misty mountains, there lived an old monk named Hideo. Hideo was well known for his kindness and wisdom. Every morning, he would sit by the temple garden and meditate, his presence a comfort to all. Villagers often visited him, seeking advice on their problems. Despite their different struggles, the old monk always said the same thing. Happiness is not something you find, it is something you carry. But one day, a young man named Kenji, burdened by failures and misfortune, came to him. His eyes were dark with despair, and his voice trembled with anger. "Old monk, I have heard your words, but they are empty. I have nothing, no money, no luck, and no friends. How can I carry happiness when my hands are empty?" The old monk smiled gently and said, "Tonight, meet me here with an empty lantern. I will show you the path." Confused but desperate, Kenji agreed. As the sun dipped behind the mountains, he returned with an old, empty lantern. Hideo handed him a small candle and said, "We will walk to the top of the mountain together. Along the way, keep this candle lit. Do not let it go out." The climb began. At first, it was easy, but as they ascended, the wind grew stronger, and the path became narrow. Kenji shielded the candle with his hands, focusing all his attention on protecting the flame. At one point, he stumbled, and the candle nearly went out. Frustrated, he yelled, "This is pointless. I can't do this." The monk, still calm, replied, "The wind will always blow, but your job is to protect your light." They continued. By the time they reached the peak, the sky had turned deep blue, and Kenji's heart was racing. He looked up and gasped. The village below glowed like a sea of stars. The silence was peaceful, the air crisp. Kenji suddenly realized he had been so focused on protecting the light that he hadn't thought of his misfortunes. The monk placed a hand on his shoulder. "Life is like this candle, Kenji. The wind will always blow. Hardships, failures, and loneliness. But as long as you protect the light inside you, the darkness will never win." Kenji looked at the small flame in his lantern. For the first time in years, he smiled. When they returned to the village, Kenji's life began to change. Not because his problems disappeared, but because he carried his light with care. He worked harder, smiled more, and slowly, the people around him began to notice. From that day forward, the villagers would see Kenji carrying his lantern at night, not because he needed it to see, but to remind himself. Happiness is not something you find. It is something you carry.